Hello, everybody. Game Killer Daddy here, and welcome to my new mini series of The Wheel of Time. What I'll be doing is taking some of my favorite parts, and hopefully some of you guys' favorite parts too, special events or parts from the book that really stuck out in my mind or that I just loved, that I can't wait to get to when I start reading them, and making little clips and putting it out there for you guys of those specific parts throughout the whole Wheel of Time series. Um, the book was written by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. I'll be taking clips from the audiobooks read by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. They do an excellent job. If you've never listened to the audiobooks and you're a Wheel of Time fan, you should definitely give it a go, give it a listen. They have different voices for everybody. You know which character is talking, you know what's going on, who's saying what. You're not lost. Who's that? Or who said that? You know each character. They do an excellent job. I have nothing to do whatsoever with the Wheel of Time or the embodiment of the Wheel of Time or any entity having anything to do with the Wheel of Time. I'm doing this because, well, for two reasons. One, that I really love the Wheel of Time series, and I need to hopefully get more subscribers since YouTube changed their policy. But I hope all of y'all like this as well. If there's anybody out there that likes to draw Wheel of Time stuff, I'll leave an email down in the description that you can send it to. Just put in the subject, what it's about or which character it is: Lan, Nynaeve, Rand, Catswain, anything. That way, if I'm doing a special clip on, a certain character, I can go and quickly find any artwork you guys send for that character or event. And if there's a special part from any of the books that you guys would like me to get to first or like me to do, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. I'll be happy to do it. I may even say, hey, this is for so-and-so. So please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. If you like the videos or audio video clips, give it a thumbs up and hit that little bell so you'll be alerted the next time I put out one of these or anything else put out by the Game Killers. And thank you for all your support.
Lan could feel something, a distinct difference to the emotions in the back of his mind. He'd grown accustomed to ignoring those, and the woman they represented. Lately, those emotions had changed. More and more, he was certain that Nynaeve had taken his bond. He could identify her by the way she felt. How could one not know her, that sense of passion and kindness? It felt remarkable. He stared down the roadway. It twisted around the side of a hill before turning straight toward a distinctive fortress ahead. The border between Kandor and Arafel was marked by the Silver Wall Keeps, a large fortification built on two sides of Furchon Pass. It was an extremely impressive fortress, really two of them, each one built up the straight wall of the narrow canyon-like pass, like two sides of an enormous doorway. Getting through the pass required traveling a considerable distance between large stone walls pocked with arrow slits, and it would be effective at stopping armies moving in either direction. They were all allies, the Borderlanders were, but that didn't stop the Arafellan from wanting a nice fortress blocking the way up to Shoal Arbella. Camped in front of that fortress was a gathering of thousands of people, clustered in smaller groups. The flag of Malkier, the golden crane, flew over some of the groups. Others flew flags of Kandor or Arafel. "Which of you broke your oath?" Lan asked, looking back at the caravan. The men there shook their heads. "Nobody needed to break his oath," Andir said. "What else would you do? Cut through the Broken Lands? The uncapped hills? It is here or nowhere. They know this." and so they wait for you." Lan growled. It was probably true. "We are a caravan," he said loudly. "Remember, if any ask, you may admit that we are Malkieri. You may say you wait for your king. That is truth. You may not mention that you have found him." The others seemed troubled, but they made no objection. Lan led the way down the slope, their caravan of 20 wagons, war horses, and attendants following. This was what he'd always worried would happen. Reclaiming Malkier was impossible. They would die, no matter how large their force. An assault on the Blight? Ridiculous. He could not ask that of them. He could not allow that of them. As he continued down the road, he became more resolute. Those brave men flying those flags, they should join with the Shinaran forces and fight in a battle that meant something. He would not take their lives. Death is lighter than a feather. Rakim had thrown that at him several times during their ride. He had followed Lan decades ago, during the Aiel War. Duty is heavier than a mountain. Lan was not running from duty. He was running toward it. Still, sight of the camps stirred his heart as he reached the bottom of the slope, then rode forward. The waiting men wore simple warriors' garb, a dory in place, women marked with a Kaisel on their foreheads. Some of the men wore coats with the golden crown on the shoulders, the mark of the royal guard of Malkier. They would have donned those only if their fathers or grandfathers had served in that guard. It was a sight that would have made Bukama cry. He had thought the Malkieri gone as a people, broken, shattered, absorbed by other nations. Yet here they were, gathering at the faintest whisper of a call to arms. Many were older. Lan had been but a babe when his kingdom fell, and those who remembered that day as men would now be in their 7th or 8th decade. They had gray hair, but they were still warriors, and they'd brought their sons and grandsons. "Tashar Malkier!" a man cried as Lan's group passed. The call went up 2 dozen times as they saw his Adori. None seemed to recognize him for who he was. They assumed that he had come for the reason they had come. The last battle comes, Lan thought. Must I deny them the right to fight alongside me? Yes, he must. Best he passed unnoticed and unrecognized. He kept his eyes forward, his hand on his sword, his mouth closed. But each call of Tashar Malkier made him want to sit up straighter. Each seemed to strengthen him, push him forward. The gates between the 2 fortress keeps were open, though soldiers checked every man who went through. Lan halted Mandarb, and his people stopped behind him. Could the Arafellan have orders to watch for him? What other choice did he have but to go forward? Going around would take weeks. His caravan waited its turn, then stepped up to the guard post. "Purpose?" asked the uniformed Arafellan, hair in braids. "Traveling to Folmaran," Lan said, "because of the last battle." "You're not going to wait here like the rest?" the guard said, waving a gauntleted hand at the gathered Malkieri. "For your king?" "I have no king," Lan said softly. The soldier nodded slowly, rubbing his chin. Then he waved for some soldiers to inspect the goods in the wagons. "There will be a tariff on that." "I plan to give it to the Shinarans to fight in the last battle," Lan said. "No price asked." The guard raised an eyebrow. "You have my oath on it," Lan said softly, meeting the man's eyes. "No tariff, then. Tashar Malkier, friend." "Tashar Arafel." Lan kicked his horse forward. He hated riding through the silver walls. They made him feel as though 1,000 archers were drawing on him. The Trollocs would not easily get through here if the Arafellan were forced to retreat back this far. There were times that had happened, and they had held here each time, as in the days of Jakobin the Undaunted. Lan practically held his breath the entire way. He reached the other side gratefully and urged Mandarb out onto the roadway to the northeast. "Alon Mandragoran!" a voice yelled, sounding distant. Lan froze. That call had come from above. He turned, looking back at the leftmost keep. A head was sticking from a window there. "Light be praised! It is you!" the voice called. The head ducked back inside. Lan felt like bolting, but if he did, this person would surely call back to the others. He waited. The figure came running out of one of the fortress doorways. Lan recognized him. A boy not yet grown into a man wearing red with a rich blue cloak. Kaisel Noramaga, grandson of the Queen of Kandor. "Lord Mandragoran," the youth said, trotting up. "You came! When I heard that the golden crane was raised—" "I have not raised it, Prince Kaisel. My plan was to ride alone." "Of course. I would like to ride alone with you. May I?" "This is not a wise choice, Your Highness," Lan said. "Your grandmother is in the south. I assume your father rules in Kandor. You should be with him. What are you doing here?" "Prince Kendril invited me," Kaisel said. "And my father bade me come. We both plan to ride with you." "Kendril too?" Lan asked, aghast. "The grandson of the Arafellan king? Your places are with your people." "Our ancestors swore an oath," the young man said. "An oath to protect, to defend. That oath is stronger than blood, Lord Mandragoran. It is stronger than will or choice. Your wife told us to wait here for you. She said that you might try to pass without greeting us." "How did you notice me?" Lan asked, containing his anger. "The horse," Kaisel said, nodding to Mandarb. "She said you might disguise yourself, but you would never leave the horse." "Burn that woman," Lan thought as he heard a call being raised through the fortress. He'd been outmaneuvered. Curse Nynaeve, and bless her too. He tried to send a sense of love and frustration through the bond to her. And then, with a deep sigh, he gave in. "The golden crane flies for Tarmon Gai'don," Lan said softly. "Let any man or woman who wishes to follow join it and fight." He closed his eyes as the call went up. It soon became a cheer. Then, a roar.
GameKillerzCrew.